Hey everybody, Jack Kopanski with Drilling Deeper here. Today I'm joined by Elliott Tribble, Director of Aggregate at General Kinematics. In this episode, Elliott and I discuss the importance of matching screen design to specific applications, how to navigate industry challenges and implications for stricter product specifications, the value of uptime, maintenance trends, and much, much more. We talk about these industry topics as well as how General Kinematics works with its customers to solve all of their needs related to these and other problems. Without further ado, here's Elliott.
Jack Kopanski with Drilling Deeper here. Today I am joined by Elliott Tribble with General Kinematics. With decades of boots on the ground experience and a deep understanding of the industry's toughest challenges, Elliott Tribble leads the charge as Director of Aggregate at General Kinematics. Elliott brings a unique blend of operational insight, technical know-how, and a passion for solving real-world problems. From optimizing efficiency to driving innovation in vibration technology, he's been instrumental in helping producers maximize performance and stay competitive. In this episode, Elliott will pull back the curtain on General Kinematics aggregate solutions and what sets them apart in the field. Elliott, thanks so much for joining us today.
Glad to be here, Jack. Thanks for having me.
So, for those that maybe aren't familiar with General Kinematics, I know I gave a bit of a background on yourself, but for those that maybe aren't familiar with the General Kinematics name and company, can you give us a little bit of information about General Kinematics, sort of the realms they play in, and what you guys offer?
Yes, absolutely. So, General Kinematics is a 65-year-old company, family-owned company since the day it started. We're on our third generation right now with Thomas Shute. And really anything associated with moving material, whether it's rocks and mining and aggregates to castings and foundry, to waste or waste energy type products and recycling. So if it needs to be moved or separated, I would say General Kinematics has done it at one point or another.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. Leading into this interview, sort of working with you guys to kind of coordinate this. I know one of the things you wanted to focus on, or I guess one of the focuses General Kinematics wanted to have was, the importance of matching screen design to specific applications. And I know that's something that is obviously a really key thing. Making sure you have the right screen based on, again, what you're moving. So can you just kind of talk a little bit about the importance of matching that design to the application, what goes into it, what options are available, what designs are suitable for best applications? Can you just kind of give us a rundown there?
Yeah, no problem. When you start looking at any plant, the screening process is kind of the cash register of each plant. So if it's not getting through the openings, then you're not making the products you're needing to make, and it's going back to be recrushed or going to a waste pile. So it is extremely important to understand, one, what the customer's needing to do with the products and what they're trying to make, but also understanding the material. That way, if it's sticky, everything requires a bit of tuning in the shop and in the field to make sure it's ideal for the customer.
For sure. What are maybe some of the considerations that go into, if I was an operation dealing with, a certain type of material, what are some of the considerations that I might want to think about when picking the right screen?
Yeah, so we always try to understand the application from our standpoint. I would say most manufacturers do. That's really the start of it all. We got to understand what part of the process they're needing to either a replacement unit or a new install. That way we know where to start off with the right solution. And then from there, we start getting into the size of the material that's needing to be separated to where, is it sticky, wet, dry? Does it have clay content in it? The bulk density that might be on the product, because each site varies a little bit. And they just, keep driving down the list of questions, so to speak, about the applications, and then coming to the conclusion of what style screen and what would be best for their total solution.
For sure. Absolutely. I know you kind of just gave a good checklist there. Is there anything more you can kind of talk about as far as how General Kinematics specifically works with customers to help them find that right match, or if it's just kind of the same thing as what you were talking about before? Can you maybe give us an example of a time the company set up a customer for success by walking them through this process?
Yeah, so we went into a customer about a year ago. really tight replacement unit, but they weren't getting quite the efficiency anymore as they kept adding on to their plant and tonnages kept increasing. But we had to go back with a similar footprint. So in that situation, we really started dialing in, the tuning of the machine compared to what they had, and we sped it up. We had the customer install a VFD with the screen. That way we could fine tune the speed, but not exceed the design parameters of what everything could do. So it's just little stuff like that. Once it's designed, that's kind of halfway part of the deal from our end, is really getting out there and boots on the ground and finish dialing it in to get a ultimate efficiency that is possible with each application.
Absolutely. Yeah, that sounds awesome. Another challenge that producers are facing right now, and another sort of thing for them to consider is increasingly strict product specifications. How have these specifications been changing for producers? How have they maybe made things more challenging? And what does maybe the future hold for continued changes, slowing changes? What do you see moving forward with that?
I would say the biggest thing with the changes, each state has their own gradations and standards that they start off with, and I would say those are kind of the minimal standards. And then what I'm seeing currently is a lot of the asphalt and concrete producers are putting challenges on the quarries and providing their own certain spec for each product mix, and that way it blends together more with their plant that the asphalt or concrete customer has and the product that they have sold. So as that becomes a part of the process, that's just one customer for that quarry. So now they're trying to appease them, but now they might be making an excess product that's not really sellable in other spots. So it's starting to become we need a lot more flexibility in the screening applications and changing the speed and strokes and really helping the operators understand what's best for their each site's needs.
For
And then
sure.
as far as what I see coming forward, I think these specs are only going to continue to get tighter. As the price of everything's going up, so the states are trying to get more length out of the roads or longer times, and then more people's traveling on them. Whether your house or a new shopping center's going up, all of that stuff is getting tighter specs, and each end user for the quarry, they're pushing back. They're trying to find a new product to sell as well, or a new mix to separate them from their competitors in their local market.
Right. Yeah, that absolutely makes sense. How does General Kinematics work with producers to help them navigate some of those specification challenges? And are there any other success stories you can kind of share in that realm that General Kinematics has been working on?
Yeah. Overall, the flexibility comes with technology, or either you're doing it manually, through shift changes and weights. So, but the only way I truly feel like we learn from that is being out in front of the customer. You got to be there to analyze it and help them really understand what their current machine is capable of doing, or what a new machine could do for them. And then so that's always the biggest thing. You got to be in front of the customers and understand each producer's site, and really try to be a true asset to them, not just another salesperson coming around.
Right.
And what was your second question? I'm sorry.
I was just wondering if there were any more sort of success stories. I know you kind of shared an example of, the screen matching. Just wondering if there were any success stories that you had as far as working with customers to navigate some of those specification challenges.
Yes, yeah. So we had one in the southeast that we were working with. They were having a lot of sticky materials, not coming off their rock the first time around. They were washing it before it went to the screen. They were running it through the screen. So we really worked closely with them on trying to come up with a solution to slow their material down and just get it cleaner, because it was a really really dense clay that was hanging on to it. So we were able to slow the machine down, and then do some other things with dams and things like that, working with media manufacturers to help the producer really dial in to where now it's a single pass product instead of having to run it through the plant two or three different times.
That's great. That's awesome to hear. Very very glad you were able to help them in that situation. Um, Obviously one of the most important things to producers is making sure that these plants are up, that they're running, that they're not facing downtime, especially unplanned downtime. And I know there's a lot going on in equipment and technology that is leading towards, you used the word efficiency at one point. That's a huge thing, productivity. What are some trends in equipment, technology, and maybe maintenance that are helping to drive uptime for producers that you've kind of seen in the industry as a whole?
I think, whether it's vibratory equipment or crushing or your yellow iron type of equipment, it seems like everybody's getting into some type of vibration analysis that they're putting more sensors, more, they're trying to get more analytical on their maintenance. And through vibration, you can start picking up trends that's, something's maybe more predictive off of vibration analysis than just seeing an oil analysis. So I really see that continuing to push into the aggregate market over the next 3 to 5 years. We're already seeing it heavily being used in the mining market. And usually that's kind of starts there and pushes itself into the aggregate market. So I really think a lot of producers and OEMs are going to start diving more into that vibration analysis with the equipment they sell.
Right. Absolutely. That's something we've been hearing a lot about as well. So I think, kind of hit the nail on the head with that one. Is that something that General Kinematics is capitalizing on currently with its equipment and technology? Are there any other trends you guys have been looking at? And what are you maybe keeping your eye on for the future as far as technology and equipment implementation?
Yeah, so especially on our two mass equipment that we're putting into some of these large mine sites that might be doing 2 or 3 thousand tons an hour, we are putting a lot of vibration monitoring systems and stroke monitoring. That way, if anything happens, it's more adaptive to increase to maintain the equipment at a current speed until they can go down for a shutdown. And I see that gradually being pushed into the aggregate market. So I feel like we were probably on the front end of that, and now we're continuing trying to capitalize that as to stay ahead of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. You guys are kind of pushing, I guess maybe pushing the forefront of that a little bit. That's great to hear. Staying on the idea of trends in equipment, it's crazy to think we're just about 6 months out almost from ConExpo-Con Ag. You know, is there anything you can share about General Kinematics plan for ConExpo-Con Ag? And if you can, what can maybe listeners expect from the company at the show?
Yes, yeah, I'd love to. So, as we've begun to grow more into the aggregate market, we're getting more on the horizontal screen side of things, and with that, we're developing more of a portable product line for our vibratory units. So we'll be launching our 8x20 triple shaft horizontal screen at ConExpo next year, and then we'll also have a 8x20 incline screen at ConExpo. So we're really looking forward to it, and really we'll have a nice display, a big spread inside the ConExpo hall there for the convention center.
Yeah, that sounds like an awesome setup. Are you going to be there yourself, Elliot?
I will be. Yep. Yeah. So the long week of ConExpo.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's daunting. 2023 was my first one, and it's crazy. 3 years has already snuck up on us this fast. So,
Right.
um, we've covered a lot of ground in this conversation, kind of talking about the industry as a whole, what General Kinematics has to offer. For anyone that's listening right now and is maybe thinking, okay, out of all the options out here, what kind of sets this company apart from others in this space? And I guess ultimately, why General Kinematics?
When I started here a little bit over 3 years ago, I was kind of uh, facing that same question myself. But I went on the tour of the plant and seen the engineering solutions. I've never seen the amount of engineers in a company that we have at General Kinematics, and all of them are really good at what they do. And then I seen I think it was a 14 by 30 foot two mass unit being built. It was just a massive screen, and they were telling me about the application and everything that went into this. So, the two mass technology really sold me on the company itself. It was really impressive. You haven't seen a whole lot of uh, creativeness in the screening market from any producer over 100 years. It's still very similar to what it was 100 years ago. And we make, similar equipment, just like, the other vibratory companies in the industry. But the two mass technology really separates itself from anything else that anybody I've seen has done. It's really impressive to see just that level of dedication. And then you again, you go back to the mining market and you see what they do and the uptime and the 24/7 kind of operations that they run. We're just bringing that heavy duty build to the aggregate market and kind of smaller sizes for what we've been doing in the mining market. So whether it's a brute force machine, kind of a traditional drive, or the two mass, and feeders, screens, all of it, we're like I said to start the interview, if it vibrates, there we'll find a way to make it work and improve on it.
Yeah, Elliot. So just finally, I was just kind of curious about something you touched on a couple of times there. You'd mentioned two mass technology a few times. Would you be able to shed a little more light onto what exactly that is for our listeners?
Yes, yep. So several companies use the technology in smaller feeders, just tunnel feeders or anything like that. Well, GK, we do it as in feeders as well, and all of our other equipment. But on the mining side, we've been able to use that technology into some really 150,000 pound screens that are just monster in size, and they're handling 2 to 3,000 tons an hour going across them. So all that really is, we're taking the trough, so the body of the screen, and then instead of relying strictly on high horsepower, we're using a second mass above the screen with usually 15 or 20 horsepower per. So I think the highest one I've ever seen is maybe 90 horsepower total on a 150,000 pound machine, and then you're using the exciter on top and the trough, and then you have a linkage of springs going between it, and that second mass is driving the trough. But as you're getting more load responsive, or you're increasing load where a traditional screen might bog down because of the increased weight, the two mass actually increases the stroke or maintains the stroke, and it's accelerating usually through a program or even on its own to keep your efficiencies high on the products.
Yeah, no, that sounds super beneficial. It's certainly a great piece of technology. I appreciate you shedding a little more light on that. Well, Elliot, I really appreciate you making a little time to talk with me here today. I think this was a lot of great information. Sounds like there's a lot of exciting stuff. Certainly looking forward to seeing that booth set up at ConExpo in a few months. So, thank you very much for talking with me here today, and all the best moving forward.
All right, thank you, Jack. I really do appreciate your time.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thanks again to Elliott Tribble with General Kinematics for joining us today. A great conversation there. Be on the lookout for the next episode of Drilling Deeper, which will be coming to you October 7th, wherever you get your podcasts, and on YouTube as well. Until next time, I'm Jack Kopanski with Drilling Deeper. See ya.